Suppliers already know what will fail. Nobody asked them early enough. Most project problems get traced back to the wrong place. Design gets reviewed, procurement gets audited, site gets questioned. But there's one place almost nobody looks. The place that already had the answer. The supplier. The one who built it, delivered it, installed it, and saw exactly where it started going wrong. They knew. They just weren't asked. I'm Helen Tsui. In this video, I will show you 3 places where supplier knowledge exists, but never reached the project. Why the system isn't designed to capture it, and what changes when that loop finally closes. So instead of paying to relearn the same lessons on every project, you will start seeing where the intelligence already exists and why it keeps going to waste. Here is something that happens on almost every project. A mockup gets built, problems show up, adjustments are made. The mockups get signed off, then bulk production begins, and 3 falls in, the same problems appear again. Not exactly the same, slightly different. In rooms, the mockup never tested. The site team reacts, the supplier gets called, and the supplier quietly is not surprised. Because they have seen this before, not on this project, on the last 3. They had the answer. Nobody asked. The underlying issue is not a broken feedback loop. Suppliers are brought into the project at the point of production, sometimes even later at installation. By that stage, the design is fixed, the budget is set, the schedule is tight. There is no room to absorb what the supplier actually knows. So they deliver, they observe, they adapt on site as much as they can, and then they wrap up. That knowledge, what failed, what needed adjusting, what the drawing never accounted for, stays inside the supplier. It doesn't travel back to the designer. It doesn't reach the next project brief. It disappears. The supplier keeps the lesson. The next project pays for it again. This isn't a single project problem. It compounds. A joinery supplier who has delivered across 40 hotel projects in Southeast Asia has seen the same wall build-up issue appeared in Hanoi, Bangkok, and KL. They know exactly which junction detail causes problem in humid climates. They know which surfaces underneath will slowly start showing through the veneer after months of air conditioning use. That knowledge is real, specific, earned. But it lives inside the factory, inside the QC team, sometimes inside one person who has been doing this for 15 years. And because no project ever asked for it at the right stage, the next designer specified the same detail, the same substrate, the same junction, and discovered the same problem again on site. The first place is mockup stage. The supplier builds the mockup, flags a concern about panels thickness and hinge load. The concern is noted but not acted on because the design is already approved, and the schedule doesn't allow for redesign. Bulk production proceeds. By forward flow, the doors start sagging slightly across the corridor. The supplier is not surprised. The project team is frustrated. The knowledge was there at mockup. The system had no way to respond. The second place is post-project. At the end of a hotel fit-out, almost nobody sits down with the supplier and asks, what did you observe? What failed quietly? What did you adjust without raising an RFI? That conversation almost never happens. The project closes. The team moves on. That conversation almost never happens. The project closes. The team moves on. The supplier files it internally, if they filed it at all. They had the answer. Nobody asked. The third place is the next project brief. A designer starts a new project. They pull previous specifications as a starting point. Those specs carry forward past decisions, including the one that caused problems. Because nothing came back to flag them, the supplier who knows exactly why that detail failed is now sitting in a showroom, waiting to be invited to tender, not to be consulted, to price. Closing this loop doesn't require restructuring procurement. It requires 3 simple shifts. The first one is question at mock-up sign-off. Not, does this meet spec? What are you concerned about that we haven't discussed it? That takes 30 seconds. The answer can save weeks of rework. The second is supplier debrief at project close. Not a performance review, a knowledge transfer. What did you observe on site that surprised you? What would you have flagged earlier if someone has asked? What should the next specification do differently? 20 minutes. Most suppliers will give you more than what you expect because nobody has asked before. The third is treating supplier's knowledge as a specification input, not just a production input. Before a detail is logged, ask the supplier, who will build it? Where is this most likely to fail under real conditions? That's not weakness in design. That's what makes a specification hold. The shift is simple, but not easy. From using suppliers as vendors who execute, to treating them as the people who carry the most current knowledge of what actually works on site. From asking, can you deliver this? To asking, what do you know about this that I don't? That's not a procurement change. It's a posture change. And it changes what you walk away from every supplier conversation knowing. When this loop closes, something practical happens. Repeat failures reduce, not because the design becomes more sophisticated, but because the system finally remembers. Specification gets stronger over time, not because teams work harder, but because field knowledge starts feeding back into the brief. The intelligence was always there. The system just wasn't designed to use it. So next time a problem shows up on site, before asking what went wrong, ask this. Did anyone speak to the supplier before the production was logged? Did anyone ask what they were concerned about? Did anyone capture what they observed on the last project? Because the answer to your current problem is very likely already known. Not somewhere in the system, but with someone who has already seen this play out before. They had the answer. Nobody asked. From what I have seen across hotel projects in Asia, this is where projects don't just fail. They repeat. Not because teams don't care, not because suppliers don't know, but because the system was never designed to take what is already known and use it at the moment it matters. That's the pattern behind it. I'm Helen Tsui. This is Hotel Story Asia. Next, we move into something different. We have already looked in where systems break. We have looked at decisions that don't carry and knowledge that never enters. Now we look at what goes into the system itself, the products, the specifications, and the choices that get locked in early. Because a system can be structured and decisions can be tracked, and you can still get the wrong result if what you put into it was never tested against real conditions. That's where we go next.